good afternoon, good evening, and or good night in today's episode of Confessions of a Spectrum Mom. I'm going to be reintroducing myself. Hello, my name is Cynthiata, and welcome to my channel. Now, for those of you who are new here, I am a special needs mom. I grew up with learning struggles, shall we say, but I grew up silent in that regard because it just was not a generation where if you had struggles, it was mostly implied that you just weren't um, applying yourself to your studies. And so I silently struggled with many different things. And now as an adult, I'm seeing I'm not saying I might be on the autism spectrum, but I do struggle with a lot of things that fall under dyslexia, and I've struggled with a lot of things that would fall under like that ADHD type tag. And so while I have never been officially like diagnosed with those medical terms, medical conditions, I'm not a medical expert, those are things that I continue to struggle with in terms of how my brain processes things. And I think the struggles that I have had in my own personal life has helped me to have more grace and more patience towards my special needs children who are on the autism spectrum. And so, because like I get it in a way, I get it, that feeling of being jumbled. I get it that transposing numbers and words and skipping words when you read. I get it, mommy, get it. I've been there. I might not have the same struggles that you've had, but I understand, in my own way, what it's like to struggle academically, not because I didn't know the material, but because my brain processed the material differently or slowly or what have you. And so this journey as a special needs parent is definitely not the journey I thought I would be on when it comes to parenthood. But I am learning to appreciate this journey, and I'm learning to appreciate that my struggles, if you will, coming through life, and I'm about to turn 48, is helping me as I guide my own children through their path. And so it's as I look back on it, I can say, okay, it's pretty cool. Thank you, God. Like you set that up divinely. When I was going through, I was not so grateful, guys. So, yeah. So I just want to share, introduce myself and let you know I have been a stay-at-home mom for 16 and a half years. And this is definitely not the path, that I thought I would be on. When we moved here, I'm in the state of Georgia, and when we moved here, I was working at a firm. My background is in interior design. I was working at a firm. I did not want to leave because I loved my boss. I loved what I did. But the cost of living where we were at was just skyrocketing, and we could not keep pace, even with multiple incomes coming into the home. So when we got here, it was just a struggle to find work for my husband and I. And then he was able to find work, and I wasn't. And then I found out, that adults doing adult things can produce babies. And so, but we didn't have any health insurance. And so that was kind of an emotionally struggling time to be pregnant, to be in a brand new state that you've never lived in, to have no health insurance, to be here for several months with no income whatsoever. And so I ended up having a lot of complications with my pregnancy. My daughter was born 9 weeks early, She was a pound and a half. She was the size of my cell phone. Um, she was a tiny little chicken nugget. That's what I call her. She was my chicken nugget. She was like two chicken nuggets laid side by side. That is how big my daughter was. And and so I had to be home with her. I had to be home with her because she was in the NICU for several weeks, and she just needed that constant attention, as a special, not a special needs child, but as definitely as a NICU baby. And then my husband was like, just stay, because that is our priority. Like, her health was our priority. And he was making um average money, nothing great. I mean, look, God, we are grateful that we had the income, but it wasn't like we wasn't. And so, like, I just ended up being not just mom, but caregiver to my daughter's medical struggles. And then I continued to have more health issues. I've had multiple miscarriages. And then, after my last miscarriage, when I got pregnant with my son, and I started having complications with him, like the same complications. And I'm like, what in the world is going on with my body when I cannot carry a child to term? And I was like, God, like, this baby has to live, because mentally I can't lose, like, back to back 2012, 2013, 2014. Like, I cannot have miscarriages back to back to back to back. Like, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, God. Like, and so it was tough. So I am tending to my child, my daughter, and then I'm going through my own health journeys. And then, my son comes along, and we don't know if he's gonna make it, because I'm still having complications. And then it was just like, oh boy. So he survived. He got fingerprints and everything all over my house. He is a trooper, but he was born 12 weeks early. And so, like, I've never made it past the 31 weeks with either of any of my children. And so, like, that's kind of my background. I have been home with my two children, tending to them. And my husband has been like, I know it was always a dream of his to be able to provide for his family. And God has definitely blessed us. We have been on one income for the last 16 years, which is not easy to do in this nation. And it's a really modest income, but God has definitely made a way for us, you know. And so my focus has been not just, wife, and not just mom, but also caregiver, also now homeschool teacher. And we've been homeschooling for approximately 4 years now. We started at the beginning of the pandemic, but we did not start because of the pandemic. And I'll link to the video that kind of shares that journey. But here we are, and it has been a bumpy ride, to say the least, because being neurodivergent, wherever you fall on the spectrum, is not easy when you live in a world that is just not set up to regard you. It just isn't. And so I am learning, as my children's advocate, to fight for open doors for them, to fight for them to be as independent as possible. Because I'm grateful that I'm turning 48. I did not think I would make it this far in life when I was younger. So, like, I'm living in stoppage time as far as I'm concerned. If you don't know what that is, watch soccer slash global football. And so, like, I want my children to be as independent as I can help them to be. And so that is what you're going to be seeing in like a lot of these confessions. It's just me sharing my story. It's me sharing the things that has worked for me in the last 16 years, the things that has not worked for me. This journey is not an easy journey, but it can get easier. And I know that that's relative because our loved ones have different needs, different levels of struggle, for lack of better term. And but I do want to encourage you that to have hope, that even if you don't see the change in your loved one or the growth in your loved one today, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. Like when we plant seeds in our garden, we that little seed isn't going to sprout in a day. Like we don't see the work that's going on inside of that seed while it's in the dirt. But then in time, God allows it to produce a harvest. And that's the hope that I hold on to, and I can hold on to it because I have seen it. Like I've seen God move in my life. I've seen him move in the life of my children. So I can have that hope because I know he's going to do it. He did it before. He'll do it again. You're like, God is faithful. I am a woman of faith. You will not escape that on my channel. But while I don't shove it in your face, I'm not going to be ashamed of the gospel of Christ, and I am so grateful because I honestly, knowing my own personal struggles, and I tell my children, mommy's still healing. Like mommy is not whole. Mommy has struggles that I'm still healing through. But without God in our life, with his hand over our life, there's no way that we remain a one income family for this long. Not in the United States of America. And not as modest of a salary as what my husband makes. And we have I have been in the hospital multiple times because of pregnancy and because of other things. I have my wonderful new bracelet. I've been in the ER like multiple times already this year. Don't want to go back. And but I've seen God be so faithful in this journey with our health, with our marriage, with our finances, with our children. And so I just want to encourage you guys that things can get better. There is a hope that we cannot let go of when it comes to our loved ones, and to be as determined of a champion for your children as you are determined to make a better life for your children. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on my kids. It's been hard. I've had bruises on my body from my children. Okay. Trying to like self-calm and regulate. I've had bruises. I had a bruise that lasted for about 4 months. Like that deep tissue bruise was, I had to get a tetanus shot because of my kid. Like that's real life on the spectrum. I haven't had to get stitches yet, but I've had bruises all over my body. And now we've moved, but in our last house, like there was not a room in my house that did not show evidence of anger and rage, and that burst or lack of self-control from our son, and that's something that he had struggled with. And so when people see him now and they're like, oh my gosh, he's so calm and he does this, and I'll just be like, thank you, because they don't know what it took to get my son to where he's at now. Last night he was so angry with his sister because his sister didn't want to play. He was like, I am so filled with rage. And my husband's like, okay, I hear you. I go sit down, take a couple deep breaths, and gather yourself. And my son was just like, and he sat down and he gathered himself. Now, if we rewind back the clock, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, ain't no way none of that's happening. That my house would have been destroyed, and I would have had to try to body block for my daughter because he would have tried to go rage on her. So we have come so far, but when I tell you the tears that I have cried, the bruises I have tended to in the beginning, that was a lot. That was a lot, guys. And so we have come from that to now he can articulate his emotions. He can say, I am so filled with rage. He would not have done that 5 years ago. He would have just showed his rage as opposed to articulating his rage. And so we have been working, but you don't see that. Y'all just see what has bloomed, but you didn't see what was planted. And so my encouragement is you might still be in the planting phase. You might still be, your seed is still under the dirt. Don't give up. Don't turn your back. You keep watering, keep tending that garden, of your loved ones, because in time, you truly will reap a harvest. I believe that. And you as a loved one, as a caregiver, have to have that hope that even though you're in the trenches now, you're digging in the dirt now, you're going to reach that harvest when you get over here to the other side. And then you'll have another challenge that you'll have to go through. And then you'll have to stay consistent, stay in it, stay in the dirt, keep tending, and then you'll get to the other side. And you're going to just complete the process until the good Lord says, well done, and calls you home, And so, I just want to encourage y'all, keep going, keep tending to your loved ones. Don't give up that hope. You will see change, whether in this life or in the next, change is going to happen. I believe in that for you. So, in any event, that's what I have for you guys today. A lot of what these discussions are just going to be me sharing the things that I've learned, sharing what I am going through, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I keep it real, just in case you were not aware. I do real talk. You can look at my past videos. I do real talk, guys, and so we're going to talk about real stuff here. So that's it, guys. Y'all know the drill. We'll see you in the next video. Okay? Bye.